sorting out. Great. Well, not a huge shock, it has been smoking for some time ever since I bought it, but I do suspect it is a turbo issue on this one.
Checked out with the chip on my shoulder. If I can stay alive long enough to catch some scratch, I'll take my traffic to love when I'm...
So I'm going to have a bit of a rest from the back end now. I'm going to move on to the bulkhead, the dividing wall between the cab and the habitation area. Also that bulkhead, I want to fit a doorway in so I can gain access in and out of the cab. I'll take this seat up. I want to see how far back these seats go, and I'm going to take it off this one as a datum line to see whereabouts I can put a framework for the bulkhead itself, and I can see it's not going to be a straightforward job. Now, there's 7 bolts holding this seat into place, 2 on this leg, 3 on this leg, and 2 on this leg. And thankfully, they're not seized in. Fits in. Just fits in. So I've now made the bulkhead wall framework. I've also put in a small access door to gain access to the cab itself. Now it's fairly easy to put the wall in. It's just basically I've just followed what was there in the first place, the metal framework where the old bulkhead wall fitted onto, and it has encroached on the habitation space for around about an inch, so I haven't lost too much space itself. The next step is to trace out the outline of the wall onto the plywood, cut out the plywood, then I want to be covering the plywood with this leatherette stuff. Now I'm going to go for the dark brown on the cab side and the light white. The white is usually light on the habitation side. Right, let's see if this fits in. Yeah, it's going to need trimming down a bit more. Get my pencil behind here now. Probably easy if I took this off. No, I'll leave it on. So after I cut out my plywood sheet, what I normally do is just round off these edges here with an orbital sander, so it's not going to give any sharp edges onto this material. Then what I do next is make sure it's all lined up so it's nice and straight. I normally use these dots as a guide, and I follow these dots in this checkered pattern all the way down the straight edge so they're all lined up. In some areas it doesn't really matter, you can't really notice, but in obvious areas you want to try and get it straight as possible. I've also left enough trimming on the side so it can be tucked over on the underside and glued in this position. So I'll just peel this back a little bit. Do the top edge first. So what I'm using is this spray, it's heat resistant contact glue, and oh, top's fallen. So what I'm using to glue this leatherette stuff on is this heat resistant contact glue. Just a case of applying it on the shape. And before I fold this over onto this, I'll just let this go a bit tacky. I'll just do this side as well. Just leave it for a couple of seconds. Yeah, that'll do. Then I'm just going to fold this across, making sure the dots are pretty much lined up, which they are now. I'm working on the straight edge first, I'm going outwards so everything lines up. The problem with this stuff, when it comes out of its packet, it's normally they either rolled up or fold up, and there's always got bloody creases in the blue thing. But once you get a bit of glue in there, it does smooth out. And the nozzle on this glue does fan it out of it, so it does spread quite well. And it gets everywhere. We'll be spraying it on the underside of the leatherette as well. It's sort of like a cloth material on this side. I'm just going to fold this half over, making sure the dots line up again. Which they do. And again, working away from the straight edge, making sure everything's lined up and smoothing it out. So before gluing this tab over, I just want to tidy up the edge of it because it is a bit all over the place. So just give it a bit more of a straight line. Always start with the straight end first, I do. Can't go wrong for the rest. Same again. Glue, spray on the back, on both sides. Just leave it to tack off for a bit, and then I'll just fold it over and glue it to position. So around corners or like a sloping bend, what I do is just cut pieces out along the edge, so it's just easier to fold over, not make any creases in the material itself, like so. And try and pull it taut slightly and glue it to position. To give that nice steady corner edge. In this side you're not going to see so much because it's going to be hidden away from the seatbelt trim. On the corner pieces, what I do is trim off the edge of the corner and trim the other edge off the opposite way so it folds over onto itself nice and neatly, like so. See where there's a bit of a corner here, which I didn't cut it apart, and it does crease up, does make the fabric rise a bit. That's why you should really cut off these notches when you go around corners. So once I've folded over the edges onto the other side of the plywood, I'll just trim off the excessive amount of leatherette, leaving around about a border of 10mm, right around the perimeter of the plywood. I'll just peel that piece up. There you go. So it's definitely looking like a two-part episode this. So in part 2 I'll be finishing off the bulkhead and the storage space above the cab roof, and also I'll be trying to fit these Range Rover P38 seats. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.
Some white killer,